Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on something a little bit different and really special. And if you're a big fan of 1980s guns, you're gonna love this. This is the SITES Spectre HC pistol. Now this is a civilian semi-automatic version of an Italian submachine gun. These are made in the 1980s and early 90s. It really has kind of that classic look. Not many were imported to the US. I've only seen a few videos on this on some of those specialty YouTube channels like Forgotten Weapons. And so getting a chance to shoot an original is really, really cool. And by the way, this one is chambered in 45 ACP. Most of them were brought into the country in 9mm, and I think it was less than 3,000 total guns ever were. And then there was a few in 45, and the rarest variant I hear are the ones in 40, because that was towards the end of the run. But SITES is a company that is no longer in business, but this is just an iconic firearm and pretty rare here in the United States. So as I said, it's really cool to get a chance to shoot this. And as always, I want to thank the people that make this possible. Before I tell you about the things that I like and don't like and show you all of the shooting footage, first and foremost is the owner of this very iconic pistol, and that is a local subscriber and friend of the channel, Roy. Roy, thank you so much. This simply is one of the coolest guns I've ever gotten to lay my hands on. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters, because through their monthly donations, they literally help keep the lights on around here. You guys know we're constantly in a battle with YouTube and the firearms community, and my Patrons really help keep all of this going, especially now as we are rebuilding the Texas Gun Vault. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor, because I could not do this without him, because he supplies all of the ammunition, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And yes, you guys know in most of these range reports I talk about Brownworks. Honestly, they are one of the best, if not the best, custom grip company in the US. If you guys don't know about Brownworks, they're a small shop, and I'm telling you, he does some of the best custom work for wood panel grips you have ever seen. He makes a wide variety of grips out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials for a wide variety of firearms, and especially guns like 1911s, Berettas, the entire CZ platform, and even a few revolver models. He's always expanding what he has, and so I'm going to ask you guys to go over there to his website, see what he has to offer, and I'm telling you, they spend more time on making grips than they do updating the website. So if you don't see what you're looking for, make sure to contact them. Tell them they will put on custom logos, custom engravings, and they have some of the best customer service out there, and they really are a very pro Second Amendment company. Mark is a huge supporter of me here, and I cannot thank him enough. So if you want to support me and the project that I have here going on, make sure to go over and support Mark, because he makes all of this happen. So when you do contact him and you buy those grips, and by the way, there'll be a discount code for 10% off your first order in the comment section. So when you do contact him, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, and I've already told you a little bit about this gun. This is the SITES Spectre HC pistol, chambered in 45, civilian semi-automatic version of an Italian submachine gun. And yes, it is a pistol. Now, when these were being made, there wasn't anything like the SB tactical brace. So if you wanted to SBR this, you'd have to find one of those original stocks, which I'm sure are almost impossible to do today. Who knows, maybe some company offers some type of adapter for this, but there's so few of these, who knows, you'd probably have to have something custom made. So we're gonna review this as a pistol without a brace and without a stock. And it is kind of weird because it's big and heavy. But being that it's big and heavy and chambered in a pistol caliber, I'm going to assume it's actually gonna shoot pretty darn light. Now, as I mentioned, this is chambered in 45. Most were brought into the country in 9mm. It's made of stamped sheet metal. It's a pretty darn robust design, and it is direct blowback with a top charging handle. Now, this gun might look kind of familiar to some of you guys that are big fans of B&T. You guys know I love B&T firearms, and this is actually the gun that inspired Carl Brugger to design one of B&T's gun. And they've made the KH9, which I actually have a KH9 SD, and this looks very similar to the SITES Spectre. In fact, it pretty much kind of is. This one's chambered in 9mm, and they even do have an adapter to replace the mag well, so if you do want to take some of those original SITES magazines, which are really big, I can't remember what they held, 50 rounds I think they called them coffin mags, you can do that with this gun. But this is the SD version, and it has the top charging handle. This one of course is SBR'd, so I do have the stock on there, and of course it is integrally suppressed. So yeah, the SITES Spectre lives on today in the KH9. So if you want a SITES Spectre, can't find an original, go find yourself a B&T KH9 in any of the configurations. All right, so let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about this particular gun. And first and foremost, it's cool. I know some of you guys are going to look at this thing and think, man, that just looks industrial. But man, this was just the look of the 1980s. You had so many guns that were like this. Direct blowback, cheaply made, kind of have that blocky look. But if you like action movies, something with Chuck Norris in it, this is the type of gun you're going to see him carrying. It just has that really cool look, and the fact that I believe this gun was one of the ones that were named by name in the '94 assault weapons ban, that makes it even cooler and more desirable to me, because it means the anti-gunners and the liberals don't want me to have it. So obviously, I would really want one. But as I said, they only brought in about 3,000 of these things. I don't really think they were that big of sellers back in the day. But I can tell you from just handling it, even though it looks kind of thrown together and stamped sheet metal, it's actually really well built. You can tell it is robust. I really like the fact that this thing has a huge double stack 45 magazine, and I'm pretty sure these things are not compatible with anything else. So if you own one of these, regardless of what caliber it's in, these magazines have got to be really, really expensive. And I believe Roy told me he has 7 or 8 of these, so he probably picked these up back when they were a lot cheaper. I also love that top charging handle. That is really, really cool, and I really like how B&T incorporated that into the KH9 as well. And everything else about this gun, it just seems well built and robust. I really have no other big issues with it when it comes to the things that maybe I don't like. Yeah, it's a little bit heavy. It's going to be a little bit awkward shooting it as a pistol, but that's really about it. I guess if I really had to find something to complain about before getting it to the range, it might be the magazine release. It's right here in the mag well, and so probably getting this magazine in and out really fast would be a problem. So you don't have a typical button release, but that actually might be the only thing. The sights are actually pretty good. Just seems like it might be a little bit unbalanced and unwieldy, but we're going to find out. And speaking of finding out, let's go ahead and get this thing to the range. So as always, I'm going to set the target at 7 yards. I'm just going to put 20 rounds through this thing initially. I just want to see how it shoots, what the trigger is like. I don't know. I've never shot a gun like this without a brace, so we're going to see if shooting this thing old school works, how it feels, and how accurate it is. And of course, hopefully, it runs well. So let's find out. 7 yards, 20 rounds. Let's go ahead and shoot the SITES Spectre in 45. All right. right, so I'm going to start with the positive first. The gun actually has virtually no recoil to it. It's actually really soft shooting and it feels really smooth. I'm really kind of impressed with that. I don't like the fact it doesn't have a last round hold open on the bolt, and I know what you guys are thinking. Oh my gosh, he flinched on that last shot. Well, let me tell you, maybe I did a little bit, but the bolt of this, or the hammer, or the striker is really big and heavy, and there's a large mass going forward on this thing. So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and, of course, safety check this gun, and if I pull this trigger, you're going to hear how loud this is. And you can even see the gun kind of move there. When you're holding it out here like this and you pull that trigger, it moves. And I didn't know when I was going to be out of ammunition. I didn't count, but a little bit of that is just the bolt itself. It's just a lot of mass that is moving. So I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, he flinched a little bit, but I think that has a little bit to do with it. I sure wish it had a last round bolt hold open, but overall, it's actually pretty fun to shoot and pretty darn accurate. So far, no issues. Okay, so let's put out the target at about twice the distance, maybe about 15 yards. Let's put another 20 rounds to this thing. I'm gonna go for the head on this IDPA target. I know it's kind of awkward to hold without having a third point of contact when it comes to my shoulder, but let's just see if I can shoot this thing accurately at a farther distance. All right, and I have to say the accuracy is still pretty good. It shoots a little bit to the left. I don't see any adjustments on the sights for windage. I definitely do for elevation, but I could adjust for that. I have to say, after shooting it now for about 40 rounds, that if I personally own this, I would have to figure out some type of way of SBRing it. Of course, as a collector, I would want to find one of those original stocks, but it's my understanding that the original stocks that came with these were pretty darn flimsy. So maybe even if you had one, they're not going to do much good. But I want to find one. This thing I bet would shoot awesome as an SBR. It shoots really good now, but as an SBR, it would be honestly pretty darn amazing. All right, so now I want to check the accuracy of this thing. I'm going to say bench rest it, but you really can't bench rest this. So I'm just going to set up my range bag. I'm going to put this magazine on top of it, and I'm just going to try to shoot a group at about 20 or 25 yards, see how accurate it is. It's going to be about the best that I can do, and we'll see what this thing actually does, trying to take the human element out of it. After all, this is supposed to be a submachine gun. It's not designed to be a super accurate gun at further distances, but at 25 yards, I'm expecting to actually shoot a pretty darn good group. The trigger is actually pretty good. Here on the bench, when I dry fire it, it sounds a little bit clanky, but actually it shoots pretty well. It's pretty predictable, and it has a pretty darn light pull, so no problems there. It's not a target trigger. It's definitely a submachine gun type of a trigger. It's a duty trigger, but it's actually pretty darn good. I'm really enjoying this. All right, so about 20 or 25 yards. Let's put some more rounds to this thing, and let's see what type of group I can get at this distance. And it looks like we've had our first malfunction. It's a failure to eject, but it might be the magazine. These magazines are old, and as I said, no one makes them anymore, and I only got one to try out on this range report, so who knows, maybe the spring in this thing is going bad, but just pushing the follower down, it's pretty darn stiff, so not really sure what caused that at all. And by the way, I forgot to mention earlier in the range report, Roy also has the complete package. As you can see, we have the original box. It has all the original paperwork in there and the owner's manual. It's really cool. So hopefully you guys saw my unboxing video of this, and tomorrow hopefully there's going to be a range report video as well, so you can see the internal mechanisms of this gun and kind of how it works as well. It is really fascinating and really interesting. But yeah, this thing shot okay, still a little bit to the left, a pretty darn good group, and I think that issue with the ejection was just the magazine. So for what it is, it's pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm having a lot of fun. All right, so now I want to give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. I know she looked at this thing as that thing looks really unwieldy. Yeah, I know. You pick it up, it's heavy. You think, are you going to hold it like this? Are you going to hold it like this? There's no brace. There's no stock. I don't know if you're going to like that, but I'm liking it. I think she will too. But let me load up a magazine and see what she thinks. And she told me she actually had a lot of fun with that. It did not shoot like she was expecting. She thought maybe because of the way that it looks and its weight that it's going to have a lot of recoil, but it is smooth. She shot it really good. The only thing she said is she'd have to work out a little bit more, get those biceps built up to hold this thing. So as I said, yeah, if I owned it, I want to figure out some type of way of putting a stock or a brace on it. And something else that I've noticed that people have done when I did a little bit of research, you can look at these vent holes around the barrel shroud, top and bottom. I have heard that some people are actually modifying these, which I probably would not modify in original, but I have heard that some people have, and kind of turn those into M-LOK slots because they actually look like M-LOK slots. They're not, but maybe somebody that knows how to weld or do some type of metal work could actually make those into M-LOK slots, and you could put some pick rail on there, put a light, a laser, vertical foregrip, who knows? So if you SBR'd this thing, that'd actually be kind of cool. So yeah, she actually really liked it, and I liked how gangster she looked shooting it. She actually put all that up on her Instagram. So if you guys are wanting to follow her, she has a Facebook and an Instagram. Her link is in the description below. She's the Texas Gun Princess, and she wants to document her journey through the Second Amendment, getting to shoot all these guns here at the Texas Gun Vault. So if you guys want to, I know she would really appreciate a like and a follow over there on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, well, I want to do one more thing before I give you guys my final thoughts on this cool gun. Of course, it's going to be a mag dump. I want to see how fast I can shoot this thing. Yeah, without a brace or a stock, it might be a little bit weird, but of course, it's just for fun. If you have a gun like this, you want to shoot it fast because originally it was a submachine gun. So let's do a mag dump, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts. And I'm actually really surprised I can shoot this thing really fast. I bet, because the way it shoots, if you actually had one of the original machine gun versions, I bet this thing is a complete blast at the range. And I totally see why Carl Brugger was inspired by it to make the KH-9. This is a fantastic gun to shoot. It's a lot of fun, and it's so cool to see what gun inspired it. Yeah, this is a really nice weapon. It might not be the prettiest thing, so if that's what you care about, you're not going to like that. But man, is this gun a real hoot to shoot at the range. I'm having so much fun with this thing. Yeah, Roy has such a cool gun. In fact, after he lent this to me, he was at a local gun show and he saw another dealer that had one in 9mm, and they were asking a lot of money for it. This is a gun that, who knows, maybe one day I would want to pick up and add to the collection. It's really nice. It really surprised me. I just thought it was cool because of what it was, but after shooting it, it's a lot of fun. It's well built. It's a cool design. So what are my final thoughts on the SITES Spectre HC pistol? And I think for the most part, if you just call it the SITES Spectre, everyone knows what you're talking about. Well, this is a gun that I was going to like just because of what it is. It's 1980s heritage, and I'm also from the 1980s, so I appreciate it from that perspective as well. But actually shooting it, it's better than I thought it was. Really, really happy with this thing. I love how simplistic it is. It's straight blowback. It looks like it's pretty easy to work on, but I think most of the proprietary tools that were designed for this are probably long gone. But I think one of the hardest things too would be to find replacement parts for it. So if you do own one of these, you might want to baby it just a little bit, because I don't think you're going to find replacement pins and top chargers and all that. If you ever broke any of that, you're going to have it custom made by somebody that knows what they're doing. But this one is in full working order, box paperwork. Man, is it pretty cool. So it's the cool factor, it's the well-built factor, and it's the fun factor. So exceeding my expectations with a big old magazine. So on my star rating, what am I going to give the SITES Spectre HC pistol? Well, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Maybe a little bit lower than what some people were thinking. I can tell you if it had a brace or a stock, it'd probably be 4.5 stars out of 5. But the reason it's not a 5 out of 5 star review, and this is just going to be very honest with you, after you've handled a KH-9, which is essentially the same thing, you realize that engineering and manufacturing techniques have come a long way. This is superior to the SITES Spectre. It's like the SITES Spectre 2.0, and it's so much nicer. But to shoot the original is really cool, and if you ever get an opportunity to, I would highly recommend it. So as it sits as a pistol, 4 out of 5 stars. With a brace or a stock, especially if it had the original stock, 4.5 stars out of 5. So much fun to shoot. A little bit awkward, but a lot of fun. And that's just what I'm going to say is the big takeaway from this. Fun. Go shoot a SITES Spectre if you get a chance. So let me know in the comment section below, have you ever shot one of these? Do you own one of these? They're pretty darn rare and they're pretty darn cool. And as always, thank you, Roy, for lending this to the channel so I can make this content and bring all of this information to all these people. So yeah, let me know if you own one of these, ever shot one, or have any interest in owning one. So as always, thanks for watching.